what we're demanding is that the police department turn over all evidence, everything involving Cary Ball Jr.'s death, from the witness statements to the witness records to any evidence, to the circuit attorney's office so they can do an independent investigation. When Cary Ball Jr. was killed, we didn't have the current process that we have, and the FIU unit wasn't instilled. And so there wasn't an independent investigation done. It was done by the police department. At the time, then Police Chief Sam Dotson asked the FBI and U.S. Attorney to take a look at it, in which they didn't do an independent investigation. They simply overlooked the information from the police and made a decision there. On top of us demanding that the police department turns over all of that information to the circuit attorney's office, we're also asking the U.S. Attorney to do a parallel investigation under the color of law and civil rights charges, because it's not that we believe, we know that Cary Ball Jr., his rights were deprived. And so I have today Ms. Tony Taylor, Cary's mother. I have Cary Ball Sr., his father, and his brother, Carlos Ball. We're going to talk a little bit about the incident that night, the events that night, and some of the issues surrounding it. Then I'm going to come back up and talk about the particular report that we've passed out, that we've made available online as well, to bring some real truth to the situation.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for coming out and showing up to support my family. This has been a tough battle. We're coming up on 5 years of Cary's death next year in April. And this hasn't been an easy fight. First of all, I want to say that they hid Cary from me. And the reason why I say they hid Cary from me is because no one contacted me the night that Cary was murdered. Even though in the police report it stated that they found out who I was from Bowen's Hospital. And they knew my current address. Cary was taken to St. Louis University Hospital. At the time, I lived on Blaine in the 3900 block. Everybody from St. Louis, they know exactly where that's at. I can look out my bedroom window and see that hospital. It took for his sister to call that morning and tell us to watch the news. That the police said, the news said, 25-year-old male, police involved shooting. And they showed a car. They never gave no more details, no nothing. They let you know that they was trying to cover it up. When I seen that on the news, I called the police station. I asked the police station, how do you go about finding out if that's your loved one in that police-involved shooting last night? They told me, hold on, and connected me to homicide. A detective from homicide got on the phone, and I asked him the same question. He told me, ma'am, I just came to work, I'm not sure. Let me give me 10 minutes and I'll call you back. And he did. And he told me he still didn't know who that was in that police-involved shooting. He said, if you give me a little bit more time, I'll have some answers for you. He said, but if you decide to come down here, call us first so we can make preparations. Well, I felt like, why would they need to make preparations? Now, mind you, it's about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning now. So me and my family, we there by 8. We go in, we ask to Same question. How do you find out about that? If that's your loved one and that police involved shooting. That same detective that answered the phone for me, he came downstairs. He had so much remorse all over his face. He said, I still don't know anything, ma'am. He said, but it's so early in the morning. If you give me 2 hours, we can look at the distinctive marks. Just give me a little time. Have y'all had any coffee, something to eat? So we leave. We go to the Hardee's in the downtown area. We give him his 2 hours. We come back at 10 o'clock. Nobody came downstairs to talk to me. So by 10:30, a friend texts me and say, call the morgue. The morgue has no choice but to tell you who they have. So I called the morgue. I asked the same question again. The morgue tell me I can't view my loved one's body. They said I can give you a tentative report. I said, well, what is a tentative report? They called off Cary's name, his social security number, and his date of birth, and asked me did I have a funeral home. No, I didn't have a funeral home because I didn't even know that was my child. And that's why I say they hid him from me. Because in the reports, detectives told the morgue to put Cary in the viewing window at 1:15 a.m. So I'm going to need to know what happened between 1:15 a.m. and 8 o'clock a.m. 7 hours that I couldn't see my child. I'm going to need some accountability, some answers. So I'm asking the circuit attorney to start with Cary's case, reopening it, a thorough investigation, and starting with the 911 tapes. Because it's the raw and detailed facts of what happened to my child that night.
Well, from what we know, not just only from the witness statements, but the report itself, is that Cary was shot a total of 21 times in close proximity. And even according to their reports from the police department, even in their witness statements, it states that even after Cary surrendered himself and had his hands in the air, after not even committing a crime at all that evening, he was still shot 21 times. And in their report, it says that once they shot him a few times, they began to walk closer to him and continue shooting. And even in their report, the witness statements state that once Cary fell, they went and stood over him and continued to shoot. At the time when we went to the hospital to get his medical records, it had said that 25-year-old male was shot due to gunshot wounds to the chest, arm, and abdomen. And he said he had 25 gunshot wounds. But we later found out that he was shot 21 times and that 4 of those were exit wounds. Even in their report, again, it talks about shored wounds. And if you look up the definition of shored, it'll tell you that you have to be close. And so we really would like for the police department to be investigated, because we don't feel like our questions were answered, because still a lot of confusion surrounding what happened to my brother that night. The police say one thing, the witness statements totally contradict everything they said, and like my mom said, Bruce said, we just want a thorough investigation from not just the circuit attorney, but also the U.S. attorney, and again, we're just looking for accountability.
How y'all doing? My name is Cary Ball Sr. I'm the father of Cary Ball Jr. I first would like to start off and letting you all know that on our first protest, I did something that a lot of people to this day are still mad at me about. I've forgiven those officers for murdering my child. I've forgiven those officers that murdered my child. In saying that, I've said this for the last 5 years, and I'm gonna continue to say it. It's a bad day in America to be a good cop. We bonded by blood. And if my son human and civil rights were not violated, maybe we need to call Peter, because his animal rights were surely violated, and they shot him down like a dog. In saying that, the only thing that I stand firm for, and I believe, is that my son did not point a weapon at me. And let's go on record as saying that we all are standing in different angles right now. Correct? If I was to drop this pen right now, the pen is on the ground. But we all may see it a different way. But the end result is the pen is on the ground. The physical evidence alone is all that's needed. Witness statements all constitute the physical evidence. But the most important thing that brought tears to my eyes were the 911 tapes when number 6 said they just murdered this boy. My name is Cary Ball Sr. Thanks for having me.
Don't be in a hurry to condemn because he does not do what you do or think as you think or as fast. There was a time when you didn't know what you know today. Media. With us coming out, this report, rekindling this story, we know what you're going to say. We know online what those comments from your viewers are going to read. They're going to talk about Cary having an armed criminal action offense at 17 years old, in which he served his time for, in which he paid his debt to society. We're going to talk about the fact that he had a gun that night. But make sure you talk about the fact that he was a college student that had a 3.86 GPA at the time. Make sure you talk about the fact that he was an emerging scholar honor roll student. Make sure you talk about the fact that on the day he was being buried, that he was going to take his mother and his sister to Jeff City so he can receive his Emerging Scholar Award. Make sure you talk about the fact that just 2 weeks before he was murdered, he was in Jeff City as a student advocate. Make sure you talk about the fact that Cary wanted to be a social worker because he knew the challenges and barriers in his community. And he wanted to be a positive product of his community. So we know you're going to bring up all the negative stuff. But make sure you tell the whole truth. Make sure you tell where he was at, where his mindset was at, where his educational mindset was at. And they're going to talk about the fact that he had a gun. They're not going to talk about the fact that he was an ex-felon who got shot and felt the need to protect himself. Make sure you talk about the realities of our community. The realities of what we go through each and every day as black men. There was a report done, a force analysis report done by Dr. William Harmon, who's an adjunct professor, who is a forensic specialist. He is, I mean, when you talk about expert witnesses and somebody that knows their stuff, that's what he does. And there was a force analysis done on that night. And I'm not going to go through the whole report, but I'm going to point out a few things. The family has already talked about the 911 calls, in which those 911 calls came from people in the community that witnessed what happened to Cary Ball that night. But Cary Ball was stopped. It was a traffic stop, supposedly. It was a traffic stop. And Cary didn't stop because he knew he had a gun on. As Cary fled, he lost control of the car, had an accident. He jumped out of the window and proceeded to run. Now, the officer's statement says that towards the end of the encounter, that Cary pulled the gun out and pointed at him. But all of the witnesses said that he was running with the gun in his hand. And it would be hard to believe that this young man jumped out a window, got hit by another car, fell at one point, got back up, and this gun never came out. Every single witness says that yes, he had a gun, and when he stopped and was given the orders to put the gun down, he tossed the gun. Every witness. These witnesses come from different parts of the city. We had an elderly woman who lives in the neighborhood. We had a young lady who was probably getting ready to go out, was picking somebody up. We had a cab driver from a different country. We had a plethora of people that didn't know each other that all said the same thing. Richard Callahan, who was our former U.S. attorney, said that because of the discrepancies in the witness statements, that they found this to be a credible shoot. So we've been trying to figure out what witness statements he was talking about. Because as we read through the witness statements, as I've gotten the opportunity to listen to the interviews, even to the